One of the biggest lies that's been perpetrated in the American public is that Donald Trump is a good businessman and a good deal maker. He's awful at both. He's a blowhard and he's a bullshit artist, and not even that good of one. Put up the timeline of the China tariffs. Trump tariffs China and ups tariff to 34%. China does nothing. Trump hikes tariffs to 84%. China responds with matching tariffs. Trump hikes again to 145%. China responds with matching tariffs. Trump says that he wants Xi to call him. China does nothing. Trump says he is ready to make a deal. China does nothing. Then Trump rolls back tariffs. All of this is breathtaking incompetence and breathtaking ignorance and willful stupidity of the enablers around this man to tell him that he's smart and he's a tough guy, because he's neither. And this is an American faceplant, and part of the reason that nobody likes us and our former allies, and I'm saying former because they don't see us as their ally anymore, are looking to China to now provide them the goods and the business deals that the United States used to make with them.
The number one thing they tell you in negotiation is don't negotiate against yourself. And Trump does that in spades in all of this mess. He is going after, he's making a big bullshit statement, and then he rolls it back because it's a stupid, and he doesn't have a plan.
All right, let's see how well he's doing on Russia. Let's put up the timeline of events. These are facts. Number one, U.S. gives Russia everything. Russia attacks Ukraine. U.S. gives more. So Russia attacks more. U.S. gets mad and blames Ukraine. And then Trump says he's putting pressure on Russia. And then you might remember yesterday he sent out a lie social. Vladimir, stop. This is horrific. Here's what Trump says in the Oval yesterday when they asked him about his tough guy Russia policy.
Why are you not putting more pressure on Russia? I know a lot of Europeans.
Putting a lot of pressure. You don't know what pressure I'm putting on Russia. They're dealing. You have no idea what pressure I'm putting on Russia. We're putting a lot of pressure.
Can you maybe tell us?
We're putting a lot of pressure on Russia, and Russia knows that, and some people that are close to it know, or he wouldn't be talking right now. The Prime Minister understands that better than anybody. He wouldn't be talking right now. He's talking, and we're putting a lot of pressure. I think he wants to make a deal. We're going to find out very soon, but it takes two to tango, and you have to have Ukraine want to make a deal too. And
okay. Since he said that last night, overnight, more attacks on Kyiv. Donald Trump has been the biggest gift to China and Russia, and the United States has been an obstacle for them to ascend to the positions that they want to be. Donald Trump arrived at his Trump 2.0 presidency and ceded all power, credibility. He ceded everything to our enemies. And you have his approval rating at 40%. And who are these 40%? Right. I mean, we have a major, major problem with propaganda in this country and people who like to feast on this crazy shit and don't like to inform themselves.
Well, and Trump is basically saying, Russia, just stop and you can have all the land. That is complete and total crap. Russia invaded Ukraine. Ukraine has defended themselves. As we've said on this podcast for a long time, Russia is in a very compromised position economically and militarily. And Trump is giving them everything because I believe he is Putin's lapdog.
Okay. And then Trump's co-president, the infamous Elon Musk, of course. The biggest failed program the United States government has ever instituted is Doge. Put up these abysmal numbers. Robert Reich tweets, Elon backtracked on Doge savings goals from $1 trillion to $150 billion. But watchdogs report only $12.6 billion in verifiable savings. That represents just 0.173% of the U.S. federal budget for 2025. We're losing vital government services for basically nothing in return. And one thing that Robert Reich doesn't go into, because he makes such a brilliant point there, is the long-term effects of what these cuts have done and how unsafe and poorly positioned we're going to be with our USAID work in Africa. And I want to ask every MAGA Christian, every single MAGA Christian that goes to church, goes to Bible study, reads their Bible, triple trumped it up. How is it Jesus-like that you support the richest people in the world taking away food from the poorest babies, and then you put your head on the pillow at night? How do people live being so morally flawed and morally duplicitous? It is a cancer in this country. We have a crazy Christian problem, and it's gross. And that problem has enabled this Trumpism.
Well, and Elon Musk, let's be very clear. What he has gained is he stopped the investigations into his companies. and into him. He has awarded himself government contracts. He has spent more money than the Biden administration. He has cut absolutely nothing. He's found no fraud, but he has enriched himself and taken himself out of the criminal exposure that he has.
And I want to remind all of the real American crowds, we're real Americans, that this doesn't matter to me, but it does to you all. Elon Musk was born in South Africa, and that's just neither here nor there, but you guys claim that's a really big, important factor for you all. Next up, Pete Hegseth is flat ass breaking the law. And I want to remind everybody that MAGA Republicans used to get on TV and drone on about national security and the troops and America being a superpower militarily. They went bananas when Lloyd Austin went to the hospital to have a heart procedure. They lost their minds thinking we could have been attacked at any moment. And then these same people don't say a peep when Trump appoints a very unqualified, untreated alcoholic that has like a million baby mamas and all these kids clearly mentally unstable, not to mention white supremacist tattoos, to be the Secretary of Defense. Listen to what this blowhard alky is doing right now. Listen to this.
We're learning more about how he used it on his personal computer that also, according to this reporting, was connected to the internet on an unsecured commercial line that Louis and Catherine say is known as the dirty line. What more do we know about this?
Yeah, Kina, this is just coming through moments ago. We are confirming reporting that had earlier been reported by the AP, and this just adds to the controversy around Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. So as you said, according to two sources, we're learning that Hegseth used the Signal app on a personal computer in his office that was connected to the internet on an unsecured commercial line. What you mentioned is called a dirty line. And that was installed at Pete Hegseth's request so he could use the Signal app on his personal computer. So why is this important? Well, a commercial internet line does not have the firewall protections that the Department of Defense's unclassified system has, so that makes it potentially susceptible to being monitored, particularly if sensitive information is being communicated.
All right, these are the people that wanted to lock Hillary Clinton up because she used a personal email server. Since then, you find out that everybody in the Trump administration does that. And that's how hollow these MAGA convictions are. They're not convictions at all. These people don't stand for anything. They don't even stand for national security. He should be fired immediately. And you can't tell me, I'm not a defense expert, but I do know that I read enough that for sure, every adversary of the United States of America saw this, all of this stuff, and he's doing it on these dirty Wi-Fi connections. I mean, my teenage kids, Gen Z, could do a million times better job hiding this stuff from people that shouldn't see it. And this guy's just boozing it up, looping his wife in, which is weird as shit. Weird. And I mean, this is insanity. Our brand, the American brand, is in the tank from economy to diplomacy and all the way to human rights. I mean, we are in the shitter because of Donald Trump and these MAGA Republicans, and it makes me sick.
I hate saying this, but I believe at first you think Pete Hegseth, it's incompetence. And then I look at over and over the security breaches. Now our allies or former allies have to use different ways of communicating because the United States is no longer trustworthy. I almost think this is on purpose. Like, I don't think this level of incompetence, it has to be nefarious, in my opinion.
Pumps, I think you bring up a really good point, because why are they ceding everything that we had strength in just a few months ago? I mean, we were a huge problem for China. We were for their ambitions. We were a huge problem for Russia and their ambitions. And we had partners that promoted democracy and human rights. Were there problems? Yes. Were we perfect? No. But this administration comes in and cedes all of that.
Right.
And all the MAGA guys are like American strength, American exceptionalism. We're real Americans. What are you doing? Putting the biggest morons, incompetent alcoholics. And I mean, come on. And no disrespect to alcoholics. My husband's in recovery. Pumps is in recovery. If he's in recovery, I'm all for him. But come on, man. All right, here's Pete Hegseth right here, acting like an untreated alcoholic. Put this up. Okay. Yashar Ali tweets, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth threatened top U.S. military officials with polygraphs as the Pentagon devolved into chaos, and Hegseth was angered by leaks. I'll hook you up to a fucking polygraph, Hegseth shouted at Admiral Christopher Grady and then acting chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He also threatened Lieutenant General Doug Sims, the Joint Staff Director, with a polygraph. Why is he doing this? Because he did some bad shit and he's afraid they're going to tattletale. And that's why he's like, I'm going to hook you up to a polygraph. These guys that he's saying that to, they're real soldiers. They have devoted their life in defense of the Constitution, no matter who the president is. And then these guys waltz in. He's a Fox News guy whose mom was sending him letters telling him to get his shit together, whose wife has to babysit him on text messages at meetings. That's how unhinged he is. His wife has to be his full-time babysitter, and he's in charge of the United States military, threatening these lifetime career military members with polygraphs for telling on him for doing bad shit?
Well, I think we can save ourselves the big mystery. He's the leaker. He's the security breach. The reason things are leaking out is because he's not securing them properly. He's the problem. And the fact that Trump has not fired him and Republicans have not called for his immediate termination, again, I hate to say it, it feels intentional.
It's unbelievable. The autopsy on this and the complicit Republicans in this will go down in history as some of the most duplicitous, evil, diabolical hypocrites. And I want to leave you all with something that I think about this a lot from time to time. You know, Al Gore really won. He beat George W. Bush, and a corrupt Supreme Court elected by George W. Bush's daddy rigged it and said that George W. Bush won. What did George W. Bush do? Lied and got us into war. Hundreds of thousands of people dead. Horrible recession. Horrible in 2008. Did not know come here from Sikkim. And Al Gore was like, he talked about the environment before it was like politically mainstream, and just the mistakes we make by always giving deference to rich white men is going to be in that autopsy that I'm talking about. I just want to leave everybody with Al Gore with nothing to gain, nothing to lose, but genuinely cares about this country. And listen to this fire and take note, Schumer, and take note, Hakeem Jeffries. This is how it's done. Play the clip.
Our Constitution, written by our founders, is intended to protect us against a threat identical to Donald Trump, someone who seeks power at all costs to get more power. And I understand very well why it is wrong to compare Adolf Hitler's Third Reich to any other movement. It was uniquely evil, full stop. I get it. But there are important lessons from the history of that emergent evil, and here is one that I regard as essential. In the immediate aftermath of World War II, a small group of philosophers who had escaped Hitler's murderous regime returned to Germany and performed a kind of moral autopsy on the Third Reich. The most famous of the so-called Frankfurt School of philosophers was a man named Jürgen Habermas. He described how the Nazis, and I quote again, attacked the very heart of the distinction between true and false, end quote. The Trump administration is insisting on trying to create their own preferred version of reality. They say Ukraine attacked Russia instead of the other way around, and expect us to believe it. At home, they attack heroes who have defended our nation in war and against cyber attacks as traitors.
Okay, American white men, take note. This is masculinity. This is strength. This is intellectual and emotional honesty. And he spoke about these German philosophers doing a moral autopsy on the Third Reich. Where are you going to be in this autopsy? Are you going to be an appeaser? Are you going to appease the dismantling of American democracy, the egregious human rights violations that the United States government is doing right now with citizens and undocumented people, and sending them to concentration camps and belittling and ridiculing anybody that disagrees with you? Are you going to stand up to these incompetent, idiotic bullies? Where are you going to be, white men? We all need to get together, and I just applaud Al Gore. I love the energy. That's all we have right now. We'll see you all in a little bit this afternoon. Subscribe. We're getting close to 1 million. We really want that 1 million plaque. We're excited about it. Okay, see you all.